For decades, one strategy kept Iran alive through every crisis: time. No matter the pressure, no matter the war, no matter the sanctions, the system survived by simply waiting longer than its enemies. But now, something has shifted. And this time, waiting may not be enough. Behind the headlines, a quiet but powerful force is squeezing Iran from all sides. Oil production is slowing, money is being frozen, trade routes are collapsing, and for the first time in years, signals are emerging that the country may be running out of options. But this is where things get even more unexpected. A new proposal has just been sent, one that could end the conflict in just 30 days. On the surface, it looks like a peace plan, but beneath it, there are deeper signs of pressure, urgency, and possibly even desperation. So, what exactly is happening inside Iran right now? And why are global analysts suddenly paying attention? Because what happens next could reshape the entire Middle East. To understand what's happening today, you have to look at Iran's history. For over 40 years, the country has faced repeated crises, wars, sanctions, and political isolation. But every single time, the system relied on one simple tactic: outlasting its opponents. During the 1979 hostage crisis, Iran held its position for over a year. During the Iran-Iraq War, it endured 8 long years and survived. And in nuclear negotiations, the same pattern repeated: delay, wait, and push the other side to lose patience. But this time, something is different, and it starts with the economy. Over the past weeks, signs have emerged that Iran's oil sector, the backbone of its economy, is under serious pressure. Officials have begun quietly reducing oil production, not because they want to, but because they have to. Storage capacity is becoming a real concern, and this is where the situation becomes critical. If oil continues to be pumped without being exported, storage facilities could reach their limits. And once that happens, shutting down oil wells becomes unavoidable. But restarting those wells later is not always simple. It can cause long-term damage to infrastructure. So instead, Iran is slowing production early, trying to avoid a bigger crisis. But here's the key detail. While officials publicly claim everything is under control, their actions tell a very different story. And that's exactly what analysts are focusing on. At the same time, the effects of economic pressure are spreading across the country. Prices are rising, markets are unstable, and even everyday sectors like cars and consumer goods are being impacted. This is where things changed, because unlike previous crises, this pressure is not just political or military, it's economic, and it's hitting from multiple directions at once. And at the center of it all is a coordinated effort designed to squeeze the system. That coordinated effort has a name: economic pressure at full scale. In recent weeks, the United States has intensified its strategy, moving from long-term pressure to what officials describe as a final push. Sanctions have expanded, financial networks are being targeted, and most importantly, a naval blockade is tightening control over Iran's trade routes. This is where the strategy becomes clear. The goal is not just to weaken Iran over time, but to restrict its ability to function in the present. Oil shipments are being blocked, financial transfers are being tracked and frozen, and any company attempting to assist Iran is facing consequences. But what happened next shocked analysts. Some of Iran's regional neighbors, who were previously more flexible, have now started cooperating with these efforts, and this shift has had a major impact. Accounts linked to Iranian institutions are being identified, funds are being frozen, and financial pathways that once helped bypass sanctions are now closing. This is not just pressure, it's a tightening system. But despite all of this, there is still one weak point, and it lies on the border. Smuggling routes, especially across land, are still active. Trucks, small vehicles, and informal networks continue to move goods in and out of the country. But here's the reality. These routes cannot replace large-scale trade. One oil tanker can carry millions of barrels. Replacing that with small-scale transport is nearly impossible. It would take thousands of vehicles just to match a fraction of that volume. So while these loopholes exist, they are not enough to sustain the economy. And that brings us to the most important development: the proposal. Iran has submitted a new plan, one that outlines a potential path to ending the conflict in just 30 days. But this is where things get interesting. The plan includes multiple phases. First, a ceasefire that gradually transitions into a complete end to hostilities. Then, steps to reduce tensions across the region, including agreements to avoid further attacks. It also includes limited nuclear activity, with enrichment returning under strict conditions after a set period. But there are limits. Iran has made it clear it does not want to dismantle its nuclear infrastructure, and that's a major sticking point. At the same time, the proposal includes the gradual lifting of sanctions and the release of frozen funds. So on paper, it looks like a balanced deal. But the real question is this: why now? Why would Iran push for a rapid agreement after years of resisting pressure? And this is where the strategy reveals itself. Time is no longer on its side. The impact of all this is already being felt. Economically, pressure is building, oil production is slowing, financial systems are tightening, and alternative trade routes are not enough to compensate. Politically, the situation is becoming more complex. Regional relationships are shifting. Countries that once stayed neutral are now taking clearer positions, and global powers are watching closely. But the biggest question remains unanswered. What happens next? If negotiations succeed, the region could see a temporary de-escalation. Sanctions may ease, trade could resume, and tensions might stabilize. But if talks fail, the consequences could be much bigger, because the current pressure is not designed to last forever. It's designed to force a decision, and that decision is coming soon. But this is where things become uncertain. There are still major disagreements. Key conditions remain unresolved, and both sides are calculating their next move very carefully. So while a deal is possible, it is far from guaranteed. And until that decision is made, the pressure continues. The tension builds, and the world watches closely, because what happens next in Iran could change everything.